Good morning and welcome to the Elevate Renatus team call. Today is March 3rd. It is Wealth Wednesday. I'm excited to be here with you today. Our quote of the day is, "People buy into the leader before they buy into the vision." National conference is right around the corner. If you have not purchased your tickets yet, do that today. Get that taken care of. Make sure that your address is correct in the Helios website. In the case that you're going to be getting an award or a t-shirt, you definitely want to make sure that gets to you. So make sure that your address is up to date in the Helios website. Our theme this year is shifting higher into focused transformation. I am so excited for our national conference, so we will see you there. We also have our dates for a leadership retreat. We're going to Cabo San Lucas, Mexico, August 20th through the 24th. I have been to Cancun with the group. I've been to Panama with the group, and I will tell you that Leaders Retreat is such a blast, and you absolutely need to make whatever needs to happen so that you can be there. Really looking forward to it. Mark your calendars for our Leaders Retreat. Our Founders Live is our opportunity once a week to connect with our CEO, Bob Snyder, and hear about any important announcements that might be happening, as well as some recognition and some great training and also a story of the week. So tune in every Monday at 4 o'clock Mountain Time for our Founders Live. Monday evenings at 7 p.m. there is a national study group. Make sure you're tuning into that. Those are covering currently the essentials courses. And the Renatus Helios app, this is a really great tool for not only just for running your business, but also for marketing your business, marketing with guests, and being able to share the app with your guests. They can have access to the corporate intensive this weekend through the app, which is a great feature, as well as you're notified whenever you earn a commission. You're notified whenever a guest is logged into or checked into an event. So make sure you download the app, give it 5 stars, and get familiar with it. Every week on Thursday at 6 p.m., we have our Private Capital Masterclass with Daine Clark. Daine has had a lot of success with building private capital. He is doing a great job facilitating that. So make sure you are watching your classes, having those private capital conversations, and bringing those questions and conversations to the masterclass on Thursdays at 6 p.m. Mountain Time. We also have our Dream Call, the Daily Real Estate Action Mastermind. That happens Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Sometimes we go till 9:30, sometimes 10 o'clock. We have great conversations all around investing in real estate. And then we've got our marketing call right now, Monday through Friday from 8 to 9. And last but not least, our Zoom up call that happens at noon. This is a great exposure for your guests. There are at least 85, 87 different interviews right now, and they're all on a playlist. So if your guest is not able to make it to the live meetings at noon, then definitely send them the playlist that we have on YouTube. Just look up Elevate Renatus Zoom Up on the YouTube channel, and you will find that playlist there. But join us live. They've been a lot of fun. Oh yes, OES is where you can sign up for the Elevate optional event subscription. And there's also a short website there or a short video there that talks about what the optional event subscription is, what comes with it, and why you want to be a part of that. Every Tuesday at 7 p.m., we have a Profits Intro by Bob Tierney. So if you are looking to introduce any guests to our Profits education, this is a great way to do that. So you can search for Profits in the Helios website on the calendar, and you will find that event pop up at 7 p.m. on Tuesdays. Every Wednesday, so today at 7 p.m. Mountain Time, we have our virtual house tour. These are fantastic exposures for your guests. Bob Snyder just mentioned it in his Generally Speaking video this morning. So make sure you're tuning in. Even if you don't have a guest, come to these house tours. These are a lot of fun. And then every Thursday, we have another house tour that's offered in Spanish. So Wednesdays, it's in English, Thursdays in Spanish. And then alongside that, we also have our Pillars of Wealth intro presentation every Thursday at 7 p.m. with our follow-up and funding webinar, which is a separate meeting. So all of these are separate. You get to pick and choose which one you go to based on your goals and where you're at in your business. We've got the onboarding session, a velocity banking study group, multifamily wholesaling, and short-term rental study groups. We are on Facebook Live. Our Facebook page is Renatus Team Elevate. There's lots of important announcements there. We get to network with the team as well as catch these recordings. So do make sure you're a part of that Facebook page. And then also our YouTube channel I mentioned a moment ago with the Zoom up calls. So our YouTube channel is Elevate Renata, so you can catch the Zoom up calls there as well as these morning calls. So do take advantage of these couple of resources here. And today is Wealth Wednesday. We get to learn from Daine Clark. Before we bring out Daine, let's do our money matrix exercise. And I will play that video for us now.
The US's richest real estate family you never heard of, and that's the way they like it. Saul Goldman was once New York's biggest landlord. You can see his impact on the city, especially on about 50 blocks of Madison Avenue. Goldman founded Solil Management. The company is decidedly old school. It still doesn't have a company website touting its prized properties like most real estate investors have. However, Sol's heirs own at least 400 New York City properties that include everything from high-end apartments on the Upper East Side to a block of land in Midtown Manhattan to the Peninsula Hotel. His 4 children are worth a combined $12.2 billion, or more than $3 billion apiece. Their 3 cousins have their own, more modest real estate empire led by Sol's nephew Lloyd. BLDG Management makes that branch of the Goldman family worth about $1.5 billion. Combined, that's enough to make the Goldmans the richest real estate family in the United States. They are the 16th richest family in America, yet you probably have never heard of them. And that is just the way they like it. Sol was the son of a Brooklyn grocer who dropped out of Brooklyn College in 1935 to run his father's store. In the 1950s, he started buying foreclosed properties at bargain basement prices. He bought the Chrysler Building in 1960. He was on a roll and borrowing heavily to build up his real estate empire. Then the real estate crash of 1973 to 1974 happened, and he had to sell off nearly 40% of his properties to pay off debts. One of the properties he was forced to sell was the Chrysler Building. After that, Sol never again went into debt or borrowed to buy a property. He paid cash for almost all of the land he bought. Sol died in 1987 and was the largest private landlord in New York at the time. In 1991, that portfolio was worth $760 million. Today, that portfolio is largely intact and is worth 16 times more. Today, Sol's youngest daughter, Jane, who is now 60 years old, is the head of Solil and the only female billionaire running a vast real estate empire. She ran it jointly with her brother Alan for years, until he cut back on work due to health issues. Jane's sons are being prepared to take over the family real estate empire one day. Call to action. You. Take 12 minutes right now to consider what aspects of your life and career you keep under wraps. How could you benefit from closely guarding your plans?
Okay, we'll take just 5 minutes here to write down our thoughts on the question on the screen. For those of you just hopping on with us, we're taking a couple minutes to write down our thoughts on the question on the screen. Got about 2 minutes left. All right, time is up for that exercise. Let's shift back over to our trainer for the day. Today is Wealth Wednesday. I'm so very grateful that Daine Clark has chosen to spend his time with us on Wednesday mornings to share with us what's been working in his business, but mostly he's here to give back and to help us move us along in our businesses. Before Renatus, Daine was working 2 jobs. He was working for Apple as well as a roofer. And he was very shy at the time. And he was working in the back at Apple, not necessarily talking to customers, but he was in the back counting cell phones. And also as a roofer, just being in the sun all day with fair skin and red hair, that was not his cup of tea. And at the time, he was barely making ends meet, and he knew that he needed to make a change. He started looking at different income opportunities and heard about real estate investing and was introduced to Renatus. And once he found out about our program, he got enrolled and plugged into the systems. He applied Velocity Banking. And after listening to his mentor, started to really see some growth in his business where he got into a duplex, lived in one side, rented out the other side. And if we fast forward to today, now Daine has raised over $22 million from different investors to go towards various transactions, and has completed over 100 deals and has only been in Renatus for about 4 or 5 years, which is absolutely incredible. And not only is Daine really killing it on the marketing side or on the real estate side, he's also killing it on the marketing side, where he has grown his team. He is recognized by Bob Snyder as a key leader and is currently in training to be on the President's Advisory Council. So make sure to take notes today. I'm very excited for what Daine has to share with us. Good morning, Daine. How are you?
Good morning, everybody. Happy Wealth Wednesday to you all. Excited to be here today, excited to share. And thank you for sharing that. It's so interesting, the thought-provoking that Woody, all these different categories, the things that you would never think about, right? What are the things that you need to keep under wraps, or what are the things that you need to keep a little bit of a secret, if you will? Maybe your superpower, or maybe something that you've got. But it's interesting because that's not like the Renatus culture. It seems like, I've been thinking about all the things that I do, all the things that I that I do in my business that I just turn around and be like, hey guys, look what I did. Look what I did. You guys should do this too. This worked. And so it caught me off guard a little bit, and sitting there and thinking about like, what are the things that I should be keeping a secret? And I couldn't really think of anything. But yeah, would actually, no, don't tell us. I was going to say, yeah, what do you guys know? No, don't tell us what the things that came to your mind of what you guys should keep a secret. But yeah, it was interesting though, because like I said, it gave me that perspective. I was like, this Renatus family, being able to share what is working for each of us, I feel like it's one of the number one reasons I bought Renatus, because so many people were so willing to be like, again, look what I did. You should do this too. This worked. But anyway, today is March 3rd, Wealth Wednesday. Holy cow, it's March. Congratulations, we made it. Third month of 2021. Things are looking up. I'm not sure if you guys have seen what's been going on in the economy and the market, but I think we are looking up. So, but yeah, let's go ahead and if you guys will let me know, I want to know how many people you talked to in the last 7 days. I am a big believer, I'm a big believer in all wealth is built through conversation. And every single big break I ever had, every time I raised money, every time I did a deal, every time I connected to somebody. In fact, I'll even tell some stories today. But every time I connected with somebody or closed a cash combo from somebody that was just ready and waiting to find Renatus, they just didn't know it yet, was because I started a conversation that I didn't know where it was going to end. And so yeah, tell me, I want to know, how many conversations did you have in the last 7 days? So chime in on the chat, tell me how many people. And so me personally, I track how many one-on-ones I have, because I have conversations with everybody everywhere, no matter where I go. It drives my wife crazy. But it becomes a lifestyle. But so for me, I'm going to count how many one-on-ones I did. And here, let me grab that actually. So in the last 7 days, I did six one-on-ones. Here, I'll chime into the chat too. So 6 one-on-ones for me. Lots of conversations, too many to count. But 6 one-on-ones total. And whatever you track, just report that same number every week. Because some people are in that phase where they're like, hey, I need to know how many conversations I have, because I'm getting into this is a lifestyle mode. And so helping yourself, helping yourself get into that mode of like, hey, I say the words investing in real estate every time I open my mouth to anybody. Almost, sometimes when you're at your job, don't say that to every single person while you're at your job, but some people, schedule yourself to go to lunch. Like if you're a busy person, one thing I love to do is block off time in my week to try and do 2 to 3 lunches per week and talk about real estate with new people that I've never talked to about real estate before, I should say. But yeah, tell me how many. Let's see, we've got what? Let's see, how do I see how many? 68 people. So I want to see 68 comments, guys. Tell me, even if you had a goose egg, thank you, I am Reese. Even if you had a goose egg and didn't have any conversations, I still want to know. Let me know how many conversations. Let's give some love real fast. And let's see. Sandra had 6. Happy to report 6 people. Great job. I'm happy to hear that, Sandra. Gilda had 3 one-on-ones. Esther had 4 invited to Saturday's intensive. Oh, the intensive. I think I said this last week, but Mark Kohler was one of the people that was like, Yeah, I'm buying that. Renatus is cool because they don't have just like, oh, here's how you go make money. Here's how you actually like keep all your money. Mark Kohler will show somebody how, if you compare side by side, somebody that makes 100 grand and somebody makes 100 grand, how somebody that is Mark Kohler taught that makes 100 grand is going to keep probably twice as much as the next guy that makes 100 grand. And so I remember thinking like, okay, I want this because of Mark Kohler. So get people to the intensive, get people in front of Mark Kohler. When they get a taste of what is included, because Mark Kohler's got, oh goodness, he's got 1, 2, 3, 4 classes now in our Renatus curriculum, I believe. Advanced Velocity Banking, the business integrated plan, and his 2 tax and legal days. Oh, so what's that, like 24 hours, something like that, of 24 hours with Mark Kohler. Yeah, when they get a taste of what he'll give away in the intensive, people will want more. I will tell you that right now. People will want more. And that's one of the biggest questions everybody has. When I sit down with people and I ask them like, hey, on a scale of 1 to 10, how strong do you feel in your foundation stuff? Asset protection, S corps, LLCs, trusts, series LLC, when to buy a piece of property in one LLC and get a new LLC every time, or should you put 5 properties in one LLC? Like on a scale of 1 to 10, how strong do you feel in that category? And you're in building your foundation, basically Mark Kohler's class. I would say more often than not, people say less than 5. In fact, I had a conversation with somebody days ago. Let's see, what's today? Wednesday? On Monday. And his answer was 1, because he just doesn't know any of that stuff. And I feel like, that one was a little bit lower, but usually people tell me 2, 3. When I sit down and ask people, like, hey, scale of 1 to 10, how do you feel like how do you feel in your knowledge, relationships, and credibility in your foundation? Usually people don't know. They have no idea. Oh, should I go on to LLC and buy a $75 LLC with the state and sign? That's not an LLC. All right. Sorry. Let's see. Lorene had a goose egg. Let's see. Cinderella. It may not
Hey,
be.
Daine,
Go ahead.
did you say there's like a 4th class that Mark Kohler is offering? I mean, like, what is that?
So Mark Kohler teaches the 2
Tax legal 1 and 2, and the one in profits.
In profits, and then your advanced velocity banking. At least the last time he did, I haven't seen the most current rendition of advanced velocity banking, but in the advanced velocity banking, he actually comes out and talks about how that can affect your taxes. And so,
okay. I thought it was like an individual,
no.
like an independent, like,
Yes,
class, because that's with Tony Scotty.
Yeah, he and
Okay,
Tony
all
Scott
right.
teach that.
Okay, all right, okay, thank you. That's why I'm like, okay, did I miss anything?
You're like, oh, I gotta consume more Tony Scott. I gotta consume more Mark Kohler. Yes.
Thank you.
Let's see. Cinderella, it may not be what I keep a secret, but who I tell my secrets to. Everyone is not for you. You know what? That is true, actually. Thank you, Cinderella. Cinderella. Yeah, I don't tell this to everybody that's not in Renatus. I'll hint towards it so that they become members of Renatus, and then I'll be like, hey, open the floodgates. Here's what's working. But yeah, I hear you there. And you're right. I didn't think of it that way. Louis had 5, Al had 3, Regina had 4, Cesar had 10, I had 6, Doug 1, Scarlett 5, Lily 2, Bruce maybe 1 today, but last 7 days a goose egg. Thank you for being honest. Robert 7 conversations, 2 of those were one-on-ones. Andres had 7. Sandra 4 to the intensive. Bobby Johnson 2 convos, 8 follow-ups. I am Reese 0, but only temporarily. No worries. Becoming a lifestyle. Mike Word 3, Charles 2, Keely 2 one-on-ones. I had scheduled The 2 one-on-ones I had scheduled got canceled. The ones rescheduled for today. At least 10 conversations. Great job. Andres, 7 total, 2 one-on-ones. Kim, 5 combos, 60 plus text messages, invites to corporate event this week. Great job. Virginia, 2, Brian, 6, Scott, 5. Look at these guys. Corey and Ron, 10 conversations, 10 registered, 4 one-on-ones. Deborah, 4 conversations, 3 invites to the intensive. Raphael, 2. Man, look at you guys. This is awesome. Jenna, 3, Seth, 1, and Marlon, a goose egg. Awesome. Great job, guys. And if I may tell a quick story, and then I want to have somebody come off of mute, and let's have you take us down a rabbit hole somewhere. And I love running my meetings that way, because sometimes the things that I share are not what people need to hear. And so usually I love to bring that from the audience. But I had a gentleman that, in fact, last week, and I had a couple of people ask me questions about last week. And so I want to illustrate this with a story. But I had a gentleman come to me and say, because last week, if you weren't here, we talked about like almost like a temperature gauge, where on when people are on this progressive temperature gauge, if you will, of like getting into real estate investing. At the very bottom, there was like, hey, that sounds like a good idea. I should probably invest in real estate. And then they're just like, hey, I should look into this. Like this, maybe they see something, maybe they talk to someone, maybe they have a conversation and hear a story where there's like, oh, that sounds like again, drips on them. I know Eric Counts doesn't like the word drip on people, but reminder, whatever you want to call it. They get the reminder, and then they have another, something else happens in their life. Usually, again, conversation, somebody says something, they see something, somebody, and they're just like, oh my gosh, like I need to get into real estate investing. And so that the temperature starts rising in there. And then eventually they get to this point where it's like, okay, I have to do this. I will do whatever it takes to get into a real estate investing transaction, to buy a property, to buy a rental, to flip a house, to buy a short-term rental. And when they get to that whatever it takes mode, that's when people just whip out credit cards, where they're just like, yep, I need Renatus. I can see that my goal of I am at whatever it takes. And if I purchase Renatus and I can see all these people that are doing deals, and I can communicate with them, have a conversation with them, that I'm going to achieve my goal a lot faster, and I'm going to go a lot farther as well. And so in that range, if I get people that are just like, oh yeah, I want to get into that, then dude, don't be like, oh, you should come and see what we're doing here. I got friends, I got Renatus. Like, no, that person's not ready for that. So quick story. I had a friend that, is actually a personal friend, and they were over at our house, and we were, this is months ago, back before Utah was frozen over. But months ago, we were out, in the backyard, had a fire going. The kids were playing in the yard, doing their thing. And Paige, my wife, Paige, and I were talking to this couple and just chatting. And he's asking me about what I do. And I, again, real estate investing, I talk about real estate. And he's like, oh my gosh, that's so cool. I've been thinking about doing something like that eventually, tell me more. And so I tell him just tell him some stories, very, very nonchalant. And I ask him the question, and I say, oh, that's cool, man. Like, could you see yourself setting a goal for getting into a property in the next, 3 to 6 months? And he's like, no, dude, I work and this, and I'm transitioning jobs, and I'm going to quit this job, and I'm going to go full time on this. And so again, I can tell he's not ready. And so I would have been doing him a disservice to be like, yeah, dude, come and see Renatus. Like, no. So I didn't. I held back. I bit my tongue. It was really hard. Really hard to not be like, yeah, dude, you should see that. Because he responded positively to a real estate investing conversation. But when he answered no to that question, Like, hey, could you see yourself getting into a deal in the next 3 to 6 months? And he's like, no, I got stuff. Like I got to finish what I'm focusing on right now for the next 2 months. And then I want to think about this. I was like, okay. And I said, have you ever read the book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad? He's like, no, I haven't. I've heard of it, but I've never read it. And I said, dude, if you have any time over the next couple of months while you're figuring that thing out, read that book. If I could give you any advice, read that book. And it was perfect because a couple months time, things changed. He reaches out to me in January. He's like, hey, I've been reading Rich Dad Poor Dad. And now he's just like, that thermometer is just like, boom, boom, like hitting the top of the thermometer is going to break, because he's reading Rich Dad Poor Dad. He's finished those things in his life that he had to transition. And now he is purchasing his Epics combo cash. Like he's ready. He's just like, let's do this. And so if you diagnose, if you will, again, we are just detectives. We don't sell anything. We are just detectives. We are here to educate. We are here to inform. We are here to assess where they are. And then we help them increase wherever they are, the next step. And so, like I said, that person was down here on the thermometer, and he read Rich Dad Poor Dad and saw, heard a couple of stories, because I told him stories. And then he's going up to the point where he's just like, take my money. I need Renatus, right? We were all there. You guys remember this. Every single person on this call had that moment where it's just like, take my money. I need Renatus. And this is the coolest thing, because in this call, we're all talking about marketing, right? We're not talking about real estate on this call. We're talking about marketing. And it is the coolest thing that Bob Snyder set up Renatus to where when people become inspired, that is when they start looking outward. When you're not inspired, you're looking inward. You're just like, all right, what can Renatus do for me? How can I benefit from Renatus? How can I make all the money? But then as soon as you become inspired, you begin looking outward and you start having conversations. And it is the weirdest thing, but when you start looking outward is when you become more of a magnet, because you're out there helping them, and you find real estate deals. You find money to do real estate deals. You find people that are just like, please take my money. I need Renatus. Conversations. So focus on getting inspired. How do you become inspired? Usually it's going to be 3 things. And it's going to be building your knowledge, watching your dang classes, building your knowledge. It's going to be building relationships, coming to things like this, or the intensives, basically rubbing shoulders with other Renatus students, as well as professionals, attorneys, CPAs, realtors. Go have a conversation, like set a goal to have a conversation with one realtor every single week for the rest of your life. Try to talk to one realtor every single week for the rest of your life. Imagine what would happen. Try to talk to one loan officer every single week, a new loan officer, for the rest of your life, every single week. That would change the game. And you would have resources coming your way, because again, you're looking outward and you just want to have conversations about real estate investing. You never know how any of those are going to go. Believe me, this is my secret. Have those conversations with people, okay? So, all right, let's have one person come off of mute.
Daine, this is Esther.
Go ahead, Esther. You were ready.
So this gentleman that I met probably like a year and a half ago, I met him at a multifamily guru kind of place. And I think is either an engineer or he works in IT. So he's got money, he still has a W-2 job.
Yeah.
And so he's really wanting to get into real estate investing. So during this multifamily guru thing, he signed up for the mentorship program and this and that. And so, I mean, I obviously couldn't really talk to him about Renatus at the time, but he spent, I don't know, 10,000 or whatever it was for the one-on-one mentorship. And he got so disillusioned because he said, come to find out, this guru hadn't done a deal in 10 years, but he was just getting in on other people's deals and mentoring them so that he can be a part of, whatever they were doing. So anyway, so he got really kind of soured with that. But each time I kept inviting him to different things in Renatus. And each time his attitude was, I already know that. I already know that. And I'm thinking, if you already know this, why haven't you done any deals whatsoever, multifamily or single family or anything, above? I didn't say that, but that was my inner voice. So then finally I thought, okay, I'm going to change strategies. And I started presenting deals to him. I said, since you have the money to invest, how about you invest in deals? I brought him a deal and it took him a month and a half to look over the paperwork, to try to find an attorney and a CPA. And so he couldn't take action. So I was just like, okay, do I just move on from him, or do I still keep, speaking with him? Because he's got the money not only to invest, but also has the money to invest in education. So in fact, when he said that, he'd been trying to look for a CPA attorney and couldn't, wasn't getting returns, I'm like, hey, what are you doing on Saturday that you can't get out of? But so it's been a little bit frustrating. And so I'm thinking, what am I doing wrong? What am I not saying? How do I approach him differently? So that's where I'm stuck.
Yeah, I hear you. So, let me just bring out the couple of things that I heard you say. So one of the questions, in fact, here, I'm gonna share my screen because I'm so visual. Oh, Keely, can I share my screen by chance? If you would let me do that. I know I saw her on the phone a minute ago, so hopefully. Oh, Esther, I think you're a co-host. Can you let me share my screen too, by chance?
I will try. I don't know if I know how to do that.
I think I saw that Keely was on the phone, so she might be busy. If not, no worries. I'll put this down and I'll tell you about it. So a couple of things that I heard. And I call it pride. We can call it whatever we want, but I call it pride, where he had a negative story that happened to him that has caused him to almost like retract, if you will, where he spent money and he felt like he got scammed. And so the problem with that is that I actually had a very similar experience myself, where I don't share this story very often, but I got involved in a thing that turned into, it was a real scam. I'm sure this guy actually delivered education or whatever, this guy, but he just didn't like what he saw. But my father, before I bought Renatus, the year before I bought Renatus, my father lost $750,000. And that was because of something that I was also a part of. I myself didn't have as much to lose, but I myself lost $50,000 from this company that we invested in. And that story changed my paradigm for what I thought the world was like. Changed my paradigm for what I believed anybody that wanted to sell you on dreams and hopes and whatever, that's what they were like. And so don't do stuff like that. And so I had a tough time. This is one of the reasons why it took me a year to finally join Renatus. Because I had to get over myself, my own pride, if you will. That, because I remember thinking, some similar things when I was listening to Mark Kohler. I mentioned Mark Kohler was one of the guys that did it for me, but I remember listening to some of the things that Mark was saying. I was like, oh, I already know that. Oh, I already know that. And then there was a few things where I was like, ooh, that was new. I haven't heard that one. But I think that this is where this gentleman is, where he just believes that anybody that offers education is just trying to take his money. And so, and it's a hard thing to recover. It's a hard thing to recover from. And so I think you're doing the right thing by presenting deals. Do it regularly. Try to send him like a deal a month. And in two ways. One, like a deal opportunity, and another, a deal done, a story of a deal done. Whether you get those stories from your education, go listen to, oh my gosh, what's his name? The instructor that teaches multifamily, John Dessauer. Go listen to John Dessauer and tell him some stories, or tell stories from the community. Either one, instructor from the community, tell stories about deals, about people, and then also, keep on doing what you're doing. Send him a deal. Every time you analyze something, send it to him. Eventually, it's going to change his paradigm, where he's just like, oh, Esther is not, because right now, again, I could be wrong, but right now he's probably in that space where he is grouping you and Renatus in the same category as that previous experience. And that's a tough place to be. And so you got to pull yourself apart from his story. You got to pull yourself out of his story of what he believes. Now, again, I could be totally wrong, but just from the things that you mentioned, it would make sense if that's what he's thinking. As well as for my own story, it would make sense as to because that's what I thought. So is that helping? Tell me if this is helping, Esther. And did you have any ahas?
Yes, that actually does help. I guess my frustration was the fact that for the last year and a half, I've presented several deals to him. He gets stuck in analysis paralysis, and then he's trying to find an attorney to review the documents and all this. And I'm like, oh my gosh, wait. Just okay. All right.
I had one of those that took me 18 months. Took me 18 months to close that guy. Similar situation.
Thank you, Daine.
But, so basically you just need to decide, is it worth your time? Or do you want to go find somebody that's just like, oh my gosh, I love the ones that are like, oh my gosh, I have been waiting for this. Where have you been, Esther? So you need to decide. Do you want to spend your time chasing this guy? Because it's going to take energy. Or do you want to be like, you know what? I'm going to put you over there, and maybe I'll autopilot send you some stuff, but I'm going to go find the guy or the gal that's like, oh my gosh, Esther, where have you been all of my life? And where has Renatus been all of my life? Please take my money, right? So, because they're out there. So always be looking for them anyway, I should say. But just decide, do you want to spend energy towards this gentleman, or do you want to spend energy towards the person that you don't even know yet is ready and waiting?
Mm-hmm.
So cool. Go ahead, Brian.
I just had a question.
Good.
So he sounds like an intellectual. And do you think exposing him to some of the Zoom up calls, showing him proof would help?
Absolutely. Those Zoom up calls were, oh my goodness, inspired. To do that every day, 5 days a week. I can't remember what somebody told me now, but they've got dozens and dozens and dozens of those.
I think they're around 90 now.
90 Zoom up calls. That's awesome. And so Esther, another thing that if instead of just tell the story, be like, you watch it, pick out a couple of things that you can create intrigue that will get him to actually watch it. Because, usually they're 15, 20 minutes. So, it's a little bit of a time commitment. It's not like a 3-minute cat video that is easy to just, you got to have your clickbait. There we go. You got to have your clickbait of you say something that gets him to click on it and watch it for 15, 20 minutes or however long that call is. And so watch it yourself, figure out what your clickbait is, send it to him so that he actually will watch it and find out what you're talking about with what you say. Awesome. Yeah. So thank you, Brian.
Maybe
thank you for the
find an
reminder.
intellectual that's did a Zoom up call that he could relate to.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'll have to go back because I did invite him to the actual Zoom up call and he never attended. So then I sent him recordings, but I don't know if he ever went on. So now I've got to readdress that with him. So thank you, Brian.
Don't forget the clickbait.
Clickbait. All right.
Get them to click on it by what you say that's going to be in there. That they'll be like, oh yeah, I want to know what Esther's talking about what that person said. Works. I don't know if clickbait works on you guys, but clickbait works on me. When somebody's like riding a horse through the drive-through at McDonald's, and that's what's on their video. I mean, it's just like, yes, please, right? I actually never watched a video like that, but I probably would click on that. but whatever that. Oh yeah, can we talk about creating clickbait? So, I mean, we don't have time to watch an actual story, but excuse me. But let's say, in fact, here I know my own story, and so I would so the story that I share in these Zoom up calls, that day actually I had broken a personal record where we had actually wired out like $989,000, almost $1 million that day before noon, before I jumped on that call. And so I not only were they asking me questions and stuff like that, and I was telling my story, but that day we had wired out almost $1 million in picking up real estate deals. And so it was perfect. So you could say something like, let's say you send a mine. You could say, oh yeah, like you should see this guy, like this guy that tells his story went from being so shy that his wife had to ask him if he wanted her number. And he tells, in this little thing, he talks about the story of how he had already wired out $989,000 to pick up real estate that day. You should hear what he has to say. Like that would get somebody to click on it, to be like, oh yeah. I want to hear this story of this guy that, and so clickbait. I want to hear that. How did that person do that? And so that's what I mean by clickbait. You pick something in there where it's like really intriguing, that you tell something about them, but then you say like, yeah, you should hear them tell a story about what they did. And you just give them like a snippet of that, so that they're like, I need to see that. I want to duplicate that myself for me. So I want to see that person do it, or I want to see that person talk about it. Clickbait. It's funny. I wasn't anticipating we were going to talk about clickbait today, but it works. Get people, spark their interest when you do stuff like that. When you master that, game on.
Hey, Daine, I have a quick question. When you do your seller financing, like, do you always put like 10% on the purchase price? Like, say if you buy it for 100, you always sell it for 110. Is that what your number that you usually put on top of it?
Sorry, say that one more time. My kids I opened the door and the security system was armed, and so it was about to start freaking out. So I had to,
okay.
turn that off.
All right. Okay. When you do the seller financing, now do you always put 10% on the purchase price? Like, say if you purchase it for 100,000 and you turn around and sell it for 110, is that always your number?
It depends. Obviously, this is not real estate call today, but it depends. So I just made an offer last week that I marked it up 11% because there's extra like HOA fees and stuff like that. And so when I was sitting down with this couple and I was quoting them, I was just like, oh man, there's this extra fee, there's that extra fee. And so I said, typically I like to be around this range. And so I might have to add 11% to that one. And they were like, okay, yeah, that's fine. Because they wanted that house really bad.
Okay, so you put like 111,000 if it was 100,000, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
All right, thank you.
Also, this might be of interest. So I chatted with somebody yesterday also that instead of doing that plan where I go find the buyer first and then we pick the house, I actually in this case I'm picking the house first because the person that I was talking to, they already have a house, and I'm just like, oh man, have you ever thought about seller financing that? And they're like, no. I said, okay, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna take what we figured it'll appraise for, and we're gonna mark it up 15%. And then we're gonna go throw it on the market and go, that's how we'll find our seller finance buyer. We're gonna list it on the MLS, check the box seller financing, but we're going to list it 15% above what we figure it would appraise for, basically our CMA. We're going to add 15% to that. And so those ones, you can mark them up bigger to turn around and sell them. And we're saying and so we're just throwing the numbers out there of, let's use your example of 100 or 100,000. So we listed 115,000, but we also say 15,000 down payment. And so, I mean, to both sides, 15% more and 15% down. I mean, that's a very, very good deal. Very, very
Now,
good deal.
are you selling the one that they're living at in this scenario?
They wanted to sell their house anyway. And so I'm basically telling them, hey, let's just list your house on seller financing. And if, we'll list it both because it's worth 100,000. So we'll list it at 100,000, but on the MLS, we're also going to say 115 if you want seller financing. And here's the criteria: 15,000 down, 7.25% interest, whatever. And if you want that, then house is yours. Or you can make a traditional offer, 100,000, that's what we figured it'll appraise for, that kind of thing. And so that way we get a shot. I mean, it might not go, but we get a shot. So, Jenna, we gotta cut out for the dream call, but we get a shot at maybe seller financing that house. And then I just tell them, I'll buy it and sell it to the person that comes knocking for seller financing. So anyway,
Awesome.
that helps.
Thank you so much.
Yes, I am Reese. Yes, clickbait. Make clickbait. So, all right, guys, I'll see you in a week. Congratulations, happy Wealth Wednesday, and jump on the dream call.
Unknown call.
Hey, Robert, I'll send you a message on Facebook since we're closing this out right now, and I'll make sure that you get the information. Hope everyone has a good day. We'll see you soon.
Bye.